What's up everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's time for a recap of what went down on Teen Mom 2 Season 9B, the finale episode. We start off in South Dakota where Chelsea calls Adam's mom back in the middle of her double date at a restaurant on speakerphone. Even though the voicemail that Adam's mom left was very casual, Chelsea did not need to call her back immediately, especially not considering the outing that she was on. And Cole following her for backup, I was like, a bit overkill. Chelsea's a big girl. I'm sure she can handle a phone call by herself, sir. Adam's mom wants for them to amend the agreement so that Adam could be around whenever Aubrey goes over to their home to visit them, and Chelsea's not yet ready for that. She feels as though Adam hasn't taken enough steps for her to feel comfortable with him being around Aubrey outside of a supervised visitation center. She and his mom go back and forth about it a little bit, and Cole is standing next to her, putting on the theatrics with every little sentence, like Katy Perry during her SNL performance with Migos. Apparently Adam's mom became pretty rude, so Chelsea told her not to speak to her in a certain way and pretty quickly got off the phone. She proceeds to ask Cole, her friends, maybe even the chef, since this whole thing was on speakerphone anyway, whether or not she handled the conversation appropriately, and they all of course agree that she did. Cole then stands there like, oh my god, I can't wait to answer the door Friday, like he's really about to do something. Like, really, sir? Really? Calm down. He rubbed me the wrong way this entire scene, just unnecessarily hyping Chelsea up and antagonizing things. It was just not a good look for him at all. And I also have to note that I was sad to hear that Adam's mom was the only one pushing for him to spend time with Aubrey. Adam wasn't the one at all involved in that decision, and it's just, yeah, quite pathetic to see how terrible of a sperm donor he truly is. Now Jade moved Shawn into her house thinking all it'll take is a few days for him to catch up on his bills and move out. Guys, why the hell does Shawn have a state-of-the-art flat screen TV complete with background lighting when he can't even pay a water bill? He should have sold it to pay that off and like make a dent in his rent as well. I wish the hell a bum with a flat screen TV even tried to move into my house after having me pay his bills off. Hell no. Down south in Florida, Briana of course hasn't heard from Lewis since she gave him $1,500, and she also tells her friend Shirley that she hasn't mentioned it to her boyfriend John or spoken to John in quite a while actually. She even reveals that she put John moving to Florida on hold for a little bit. Shirley pleads with her to try communicating with John to make it work instead of giving up so easily, and Briana says that she'd rather just text him and tell him that she's not happy and doesn't want to make it work anymore. Quite a few of you guys have been dragging Briana for dumping John via text, but I have to say sometimes like when you're done and like you just cannot be bothered to do anything else. So I feel her. I ended my last like long-term relationship via text at like 7 in the morning because that's how exhausted I was. I was exhausted for months on every single freaking level, and I couldn't take it anymore. Like 7 in the morning, sorry, I think it's best if we go our separate ways. After like a really long heart-to-heart the night before of like me just trying to get answers of why this person was so ambivalent about things, and him telling me that he didn't prioritize our relationship and that he basically was only in it because he didn't want me to be with anyone else, I was like, this doesn't even deserve any more of a conversation, right? Like just text it and be done with it. So I get the frustration of sometimes having to do things that way. Anyway, John almost immediately texts Bree back saying, you know what, save it Bree, I already knew, which meant that he was kind of over it too. And Briana, being the dummy that she wasn't sure if that meant that they were broken up. She's like, so does that mean we're broken up? Are we still together? Like I was expecting him to like ask me why I didn't want to be in this relationship anymore. I was like, sis, stop. It's done. It's over. You just dumped him. Like, what do you expect here? Over in West Virginia, Leah drives her pregnant sister over to a divorce court hearing that she has, and they talk about Jeremy canceling on Leah yet again and how he hasn't made an effort to reschedule. And you would really think that she would get the hint that Jeremy was not serious about pursuing an actual relationship with her. So her sister goes into the hearing, comes out celebrating the fact that her now ex-husband, I guess, after all of this, did not try to claim the baby that she's pregnant with as his own. Like, she's pregnant with a baby from a Costa Rican like boating or diving instructor or whatever that she met and banged raw on the first freaking night, and it was just, oh child, the ghetto. Over in Dover, Kail brought her dog Bear home, but he was still in a lot of pain, so she brought him back to the vet, who told her that there wasn't much they can do to help him live longer than a few weeks, so it's best that they put him down because of all of the pain that he's in. She thinks about how to break the news to the boys and if they should be there when he gets put down. Back down in South Dakota, Grandma Donna comes to pick up Aubrey, and Cole doesn't do a damn thing after puffing up his chest at the restaurant. He just goes to the front door and looks on as she drives off with his stepdaughter. I was like, look at all that posturing you were doing at the restaurant just to stand around for nothing, like you should. There was no need to rock the boat here. It's now Jade's birthday, and her mom only texted her saying happy birthday, no call or anything like that, and asked when she could see Jade's daughter Chloe next, not even Jade. So Jade goes out with her family and friends to celebrate the occasion and talk about how well she and Shawn have been doing since splitting up and staying together in the same roof again despite not being together. Shawn gives her a toast where he calls her his girlfriend, and she was absolutely floored, and I was like, I told you so. This is what happens when you give ashy men electricity. They try to claim you by any means necessary, especially with winter coming. Meanwhile, in Florida, Briana goes out to lunch with her family to talk about dumping John through text message, and they were upset with her for not at least calling him. Briana seems to think there's still a relationship to work out, which makes me laugh in a bless your heart kind of way. And speaking of bless your heart, John just randomly texts Briana discharge papers from the hospital one day with a message saying that it was the closest thing to heartbreak. Oh my God. He was hospitalized for chest pains, which I obviously don't find funny at all, but the melodramatic, like sending your hospital records and being like, I'm sorry to bother you. Oh, this is the closest thing to heartbreak. Like, it's just team too much. It was quite corny. He insists on getting closure by communicating about things face to face, and she agrees to do that. So she's like, I booked a flight to go up to New York City tomorrow to talk to John about everything, and she mentioned how she's keeping an open heart towards the possibility of mending their relationship. Like, this girl doesn't seem to understand that when it's over, it's over. Someone needs to give her some RH Sin poetry ASAP. Back in Delaware, Kailyn sits her sons down at the dining table to explain putting their dog Bear down. I think she did a really great job of breaking it down to all of them and giving them the option to be there. Isaac was the only one who definitively wanted to be there while they put down Bear. Lincoln seemed a little bit confused about the entire ordeal, and of course Lux is way too young to have an opinion one way or the other. Jeremy is still avoiding seeing West Virginia Barbie face to face, so she has to call him about the state of their relationship. She tells him that she wants to stop hooking up and flirting, and he agrees, and they both talk about how it's detrimental to their daughter, despite the fact that they've been like putting on the masquerade in front of her for this long with no problem. My take on the whole thing is that Jeremy just got bored of Leah, and Leah became too scared of being hurt, and that Addie's feelings come second to both of them in this entire situation. But she is the scapegoat that they're going to be using to save face about like how awful they've been to that poor girl about this relationship. The conversation then ends because Jeremy gets pulled off the road, which I'm assuming was for distracted driving, or at least I hope. Briana has flown into New York City and had a talk with John off camera because he didn't want it to be filmed. The next morning, she calls her producer over to her room and tells her that John said that she was the one not ready for a relationship or trying to make it work, and she actually agreed with that sentiment. She described him as crying and screaming at her, and she admitted that she cried quite a bit herself, and he mentioned that he was ready for the next step to move his career, his life, everything to Florida to be with her and her daughters, and she absolutely took him for granted. And I think that the weight of his love for her hit her in that moment. But again, just because someone loves you doesn't mean that they are able to effectively communicate that to you, which was obviously the case in this relationship. I think it was quite clear that the way that John shows love is very different from the way that Briana feels love. So obviously she didn't feel that while they're in the relationship, which is why she started to withdraw from it. Now, in the final two scenes of the episode, it's time for Shawn to move out of Jade's house, but she's now having second thoughts about letting him leave because she likes the little makeshift family that they've created for Chloe within the house, and that they weren't fighting quite so often anymore. And then Kailyn drives all the kids and the dog Bear to the vet to put him down, and we don't get to go inside with them at all, but we know how that ends. Anyway, that's your recap of what went down on the Teen Mom 2 Season 9B finale episode. As usual, I'm more excited to hear what you thought about everything, so please let me know what you thought about the episode and the season as a whole in the comment section down below, and as usual, we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.